What's going on, everybody? Glad to have you in. DJ Frosty Freeze in the building. About to get started. We got a special message for you today. Sermon Sunday. But before we get into that, I'd like you to hit the like button. Those of you on Facebook, those watching on YouTube, be sure to hit the like, subscribe, give us a thumbs up. It helps spread the message, get the word out. We want to get you to hit that Cash App for me. Helps provide the content, keep all our subscriptions up to date to bring you the messages that we have. And of course, Sundays I reserve for more spiritual aspects for my followers on Divine in Mind. Those of you out there who know who you are. We want to give you a second to get in. All right, let's get to it. Today's message is called Karma Credit. It's a play on words. I'm sure you heard of the credit repair site, Credit Karma. And this is in no way an advertisement for them or anything of that nature. But the message today is in relation to karma credit. And we're not going to discuss karma specifically today, but what karma is, and sort of in not only positive ways, but in negative ways. Oftentimes you hear the word karma and you think, I can't wait till the karma comes back to get it. And they always think of it as a negative connotation. But today I'm going to start out by letting you know that this is going to be deeply metaphorical. So try to keep up, and we'll try our best to keep you interested in what we're talking about. And in doing so, it's my intention to have your mind moving in directions it ordinarily would not. So the idea is to get the brain moving. So we use a lot of metaphors to get your brain active and to get you more receptive to the spiritual aspects of things going on within your own personal lives. So how do you know if you're helping or hurting those you care about? You first have to ask yourselves, if you're helping others, why is it they need help? What type of help do they need? And after getting the help, what do they do with it? And whatever they do with it, is it sustainable? Meaning, does their situation become better? Have they learned from it? And if so, what have they learned? And today's sermon lecture is about karma. Some years ago, I heard a lecture about, it was something to the effect of the devil holding a credit card. That the devil is like the credit card, and you're the payee, if you will, the debtor. And this is a kind of a play on that. And I remember hearing this I think this sermon was probably about 10 years ago, when I was out doing ministry and stuff like that. So I decided to resurrect that and use it in today's message. So today's message is a little bit about karma, and it's going to be deeply metaphorical, as I said. So we'll get through it a little bit. And when I talk about, like when we talked about this sermon about the devil or whatever, I'm not talking about me personally, I'm not necessarily, a believer in some guy with some horns and a red suit and pitchfork and all that kind of stuff. But understand there are things within nature and our existence that have yet to present themselves. And so we get into this with that in mind, and contemplating those things that we haven't yet understood or been presented with. So what I'm talking about today is a variation of that. Something I like to call karma credit, and the checks without balances. Here's where we start to get into those metaphors, and I want you to pay close attention and try and imagine yourself being in this situation. And some of you may be in this situation already. And the thing to think about here is, does your purchase, or your action, if you will, does your purchase become a long-term positive investment or a liability to both you and the folks you are purchasing for? Of course, when it comes to those we care about, we want to do everything we can to help them, right? We sacrifice in every single instance in doing that, but in many cases, at the sacrifice of our own well-being. We start this process with love, and of course, great intentions, believing we are helping the greater good of those we are giving the karma credit to. That's right, we become the bank, and we're giving that credit to those we're trying to help. We feel they're heirs to this credit. So what that means is we feel like we have an obligation to them. So as we feel like we're heirs to this credit that we're giving, and we believe that they're the heirs of it and that they deserve it because, of course, they're our family members and our close friends. We believe that we somehow owe this to them. When we start out that way, believing we owe them something simply for the reason of them being in our family. And this comes from a place of guilt, to a self-awareness of not allowing their karma credit to mature. Now, see, the first 18 years of life here, we as parents, guardians, or elders are enlisted to teach those after us to build the knowledge to understand this karma. Over time, we should have become versed in the aspects of joy and suffering to prepare for the eventual credit they will use or even misuse. Most of us fall into this trap. By human nature, we want something better for those we see as vulnerable or ignorant to what they will encounter in the future. We'll look past the liabilities and try to force this karma. And this is where the credit aspect comes in. The creditor and the payer. Which one is which? And bear with me now, because we're about to go in pretty deep here. So, excuses come from the payer. Let me repeat that. Excuses come from the payer. And that's the person you're extending the credit to, that family member or a close friend. They are not for the creditor. So the excuses are not for the creditor, but they come from the payer. Now, if I lost you, I'm going to find you right now, and bring you back. Now, here you, the creditor, the elder, ultimately the enabler, or are you the payer, the immature debtor, who has become reliant on the credit, but has become so enabled that the concept of paying it back has eluded them? Which one are you? Karma credit? Yeah, karma credit. Karma has a funny way of letting folks know which one of those they are. And how many at the credit agency, otherwise known as family and friends, because friends are involved too at some point in the future, when karma actually comes to collect. Oh, you know where I'm going with this now, I'm sure. So which one are you? The enabler or the enabled? How many times have you said some of these things? And I want you to pay attention to some of these examples, because all of us have been in this situation at one point or another, and we find a way to justify the things that we do. So I ask you, I'll tell you again, how many times have you said some of these things? For example, if you just let me do it, it will help you. Or, if I just do it, I'll feel better. This or this one even. This is for that thing you did last week or last month or last year. Doesn't matter. There's never a time limit on it, but there's always I'm just paying you back for something you did for me, even though it may not be anything in existence, but we try to find things. Now, this makes you feel good for the moment, but that feeling wears off, and eventually you will have to replace it with something else. Because after multiple times of following this cycle, it gets used up. Used is the key word here. You've been getting used to the credit, giving up the credit, or them using up the credit with no payback or very little payback at the least. So, can the bank survive this way? Can any bank survive that way when you dish out a loan and you don't get paid back over time, or you get very little back, that it doesn't cover the loan or the interest on the loan? But imagine that. Can you survive that way after all the sacrifice? So remember what I said about the bank being family and others close to you, because you see, they were extending credit in their branches, again metaphorically, without communicating to the president of the bank. And when they finally did, too little, too late can be done to fix it. So at this point, Karma starts sending the notices out, right? Karma says, "Hey, entitled one," because by this time, that's the attitude that they've had. They consider themselves being owed the things that you've been giving them, because they've been getting them for so long by this time. It says, "Hey, entitled one, I'm going to have to start taking some stuff from you." And this is Karma talking. And Karma comes in and says, "Hey, this is the point where they start creating new ways to make money quick, right?" When Karma starts making its way in there, they try to find and get creative with new ways of using or taking stuff from somewhere else. And this is the point when they start creating new ways to make money quick. They either go for the inflated, the loans with the inflated interest rates, the payday loans and all that kind of stuff. They start telling mistruths about their jobs, making excuses about different things, and then they try to join these pyramid schemes where you buy a product and then you're going to make millions of dollars selling some product, or getting involved in some club type thing on the internet, and if you pay this and you can sell this, and usually it's simple items that are overpriced. And they do all these things, and they need your help with actually getting started up with those. So it starts a different area of borrowing and enablement, right? It's because you see them, you look at them, and we see it, and that they're, we think that they're doing something better because they're going to get into a new business venture, or they're going to pay for a new, job or interview or something. There's always some excuse for it. But that's what we're talking about. And we see it, and we're all, like I said, most of us are guilty of this, especially if you have adult children. And it's something learned even when they're kids. Like, we start teaching them that these things are okay, because they know they can always depend on us. And I think they just extend that past the 18 years. Now we see it, but our denial tells us that they're still trying. So we extend the credit period, and Karma stands by and watches. The whole time this is going on, they're living seemingly normal lives. They're still engaging in reckless practices, eating out, throwing parties, going on vacations, buying things they didn't need. And Karma sends them another notice letting them know that that Karma's going to take something that they need to function otherwise normally. So in other words, Karma sees that they're out here recklessly doing all these things as if they have no care in the world after extending their credit with you. Karma decides to step in and give them another warning. And it's a continued cycle that plays out. And the bank, the family, is a loving family, a sympathetic family, and they work hard to make sure that the entitled and enabled don't keep losing things. But Karma is a neutral insurer. Karma becomes the insurer or the guarantor of the loan. So Karma's watching, sees all this going on, and Karma is invested in this as well. So Karma decides to send out another notice. Karma is not beholden to the bank, us, or the creditor. or the debtor, them. In other words, karma isn't beholden to the enabled and entitled or us. So after various attempts by karma straightening out the payer by subtle yet meaningful warnings, karma begins to stop requesting and start demanding. And what do I mean by when karma sends out notices? What I'm talking about here is karma will do subtle things to remind you that you're on the wrong path. You know, a window or something may break. You may slip and fall down some steps when you're going to get the mail on the day you're supposed to be paying your bill, or you're supposed to meet up with the family somewhere, and somehow something happens and stops you from doing something like that. These are little notices that karma sets out before really coming down hard on you as a guarantor. Karma tries to warn you and straighten you out before you fall too far into the hole. So hold on now, pay attention. This is going to get serious. So by this time, the family represented by the bank in this scenario begins to withdraw, which you start the person, the credit, the debtor starts to extend their credit so much that the family begins to feel used and abused, and by this point they start to distance themselves from that particular family member or close friend that has been using them and borrowing from them for so long. But by that time, by the time the family starts their withdrawal and to stop extending the credit, it's a bit too late at that point. The family and close friends had enabled the member to believe that this is a normal practice. And the people who have been enabled were never allowed to learn what was important for them, because the credit was extended so much that the ability to see karma was being stolen from them. So basically, from us enabling, we've blinded the person we were enabling. So they were so blinded that they couldn't see the warnings that were coming to stop them from all their recklessness and their reckless behaviors. And I talk about this in a way that it triples and stuff when it becomes other family members involved with those persons you're extending that credit to. With those persons you're enabling, it not only hurts them personally, but those around them in their immediate vicinity as well, including other family members that may live with them in their households, and even those that have left home. It affects them eventually as well. Now remember, I said that karma was a neutral party. Well, now karma is coming to collect at this point. The bank was extended to its last strings. The enabled individual or individuals is still being enabled, and karma credit is ready to collect. Good karma were the warnings. And we talked about good and bad karma. And the good karma were all those little warning signs that you were getting beforehand to stop the reckless behavior. That was the good karma. It may not have seemed good at the time, but it was like the guardian angel coming to protect you from whatever it was without hurting you too bad. But by this point, we're beyond that. Karma needs to pay the, needs to get its return. So the warnings failed, and now the bad karma is employed to balance the books. And the books we're talking about here is basically the book of life. Karma is going to balance that. And if you know anything about karma, it's about balance. Good karma and bad karma. And when you're leaning too far on one side, karma comes back to set you straight and put you on the balance. Now, this cyclical rendition and metaphor, what I was just speaking about, it should scare you, but it should also teach you. Because if you're enabling, you are robbing someone of spirit and life experiences needed to become a better person. Karma will collect. There's no doubt in that. And in most cases, it will collect from those who least expect it. When you take advantage of those who are extending credit to you, the thing you are most likely to lose in this balance is the creditor, the other family members, the bank. and those who have unwittingly enabled the entitled. So not only the bank, but all those people that you have burnt bridges with and that you've extended your credit from. Eventually something happens to somebody, and it usually isn't the person that's in debt. It's usually the people that are there extending the credit to the person that's in debt. You know, always there for that person, always there to pick them up every time they fall, and not giving them the opportunity to grow. It's those, the least expected, that tend to get the lesson of tend to be used as a lesson for those that need to see that type of karma. Now, when it comes to karma credit, not the bank, the family, nor the borrower, the family member that's been enabled, have control of the method of collection. So knowing that karma is coming for you, or bad karma is coming from you, is not just a construct to expect, but you don't know what to expect when it actually happens. Karma doesn't tell you how it's going to teach you the lesson, it just does. So if you continue to test these things, you're going to learn some lessons you may not be ready for. And that's basically what the message is kind of about today, and it's to remind you of that, to be mindful of the things you're doing. And it starts with being honest with yourself. In order to learn and grow, you must allow others to learn and grow. So just as we had to learn and grow and sometimes fall on hard times, we've got to let those we're enabling to fall down once in a while and figure it out. Because eventually we're not going to be around to do that for them anymore. We leave these folks we have enabled in a worse position than when they started that way of living. Sometimes the best way to learn is to fail, to hit rock bottom and climb back up. We are truly in no position to steal this life experience for those who are openly and actively choose not to do better. We in effect become their choice. Whether you birthed them, found them, or have grown old with them, they are still individuals who must make choices to live their lives, and they must make those choices on their own. They must have it on their own terms, not on the terms we wish them to have. And that's hard for us to deal with as close members and friends and family members. It's hard for us to not do those things, but it's something we should truly get into. If their choice is our choice, then karma will balance that as well. And if anything, I hope you got something out of that today. May God bless you and keep you in good health. And of course, I appreciate you for listening. And once again, this has been Sermon Sunday, Karma Credit, Enabling the Enabler. I'd like to have you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Get on Freeze Frame Radio on Facebook for our political podcast during the week. Also on YouTube as well. We are going to be, like I said, in the future, we're going to be moving our podcast to Mixcloud, because we like to do music formats as well. Because we play DJ music and local artists and things like that. DJ mixes, mixtapes, and radio shows type stuff as well. So I want to remind you of that. So get on Mixcloud if you haven't gotten there. It's mixcloud.com/DJ Frosty Freeze. If you look in the scrolling text on your screen, you'll see that there is a Cash App with a Cash App handle, and that is at $DJ Frosty Freeze. If you're enjoying the content, if you're enjoying the messages, be sure to hit that Cash App with any amount you feel you can give, and we'll send you something special for that. Leave an email, and I'll definitely send you something. And take care for the weekend. Stay safe, stay healthy, mask up, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care.